current trends that are shaping R&D departments out in the marketplace. So we, set the stage here with some of the things that are happening in this realm. One, digital transformation is hitting everybody. And when it comes to R&D, Industry 4.0 is something that's really taken hold. For those of you that haven't heard that term before, it's really the fourth industrial revolution. And it's really the next phase where digitization of manufacturing, driven by disruptive trends, including the rise of data and connectivity, analytics, human-machine interaction, and improvements in robotics. So really, this is the kind of the next industrial wave. And this includes AI and machine learning. It's being used to accelerate the R&D process from drug discovery to material science, and big data and analytics being used to gain insights and optimize processes and predict outcomes, and is becoming a standard practice in the whole R&D process. Open innovation and collaboration. The use of collaborative platforms and digital platforms to collaborate with external partners, as we tend to partner up more these days with other entities in order to get where we need to go with the research and development. And the crowdsourcing of ideas, engaging with a broader community to source innovative ideas and solutions and determine which ones are the best ones to us to invest in and to pursue. And then there's the use of agile and lean R&D practices with things like rapid prototyping, with techniques in 3D printing and virtual simulations to quickly develop these things. And lean innovation by applying lean principles to reduce waste, improve efficiency, bring products to market faster. These are approaches that are and practices that are taking hold. And of course, there's regulatory and ethical considerations. It seems like more and more we regulate and we put compliance initiatives in place. And navigating these complex regulatory environments, especially in biotech and pharma, become a real consideration as we pursue these R&D efforts. And then there's always the ethical AI and data privacy issues that we have to deal with on an ongoing basis. Remote and decentralized R&D. With the pandemic, the need for remote work tools and the adoption of remote work tools has become paramount. And enabling our distributed teams to become effective in this decentralized mode is something that has become critical for our success. And even the advent of decentralized innovation labs, which are more smaller, agile innovation labs in various locations tapped into local talent and markets to do that, also enhances the need for more decentralized operation of R&D. We also have venture partnerships and corporate venturing. Corporate venture capital, where large corporations are increasingly investing in startups to gain access to new technologies, and potentially we need to partner and share information and progress with them along the way, as well as just overall strategic partnerships where we form alliances with other companies to co-develop new products and technologies. Once again, the need for us to have more collaborative practices. And just overall advanced manufacturing technologies like 3D printing, et cetera, and robotics and automation, and putting those into play. So these are just some that are in the marketplace for R&D. Now, what does this mean in terms of challenges that we face? Well, first off is funding and budget constraints. We all face limited funding, and ensuring that resources such as budget, manpower, and time are allocated efficiently to the various projects and initiatives is done. It can be complex and very unpredictable when it comes to undetermined R&D outcomes. Cost management. R&D projects often involve high costs, and managing this within an allocated budget is crucial, but it's very difficult to do and try to get to the end line before the funding runs out. Rapid technological advancements. In every industry, technology, R&D, whatever it might be, the pace of change continues to accelerate. And this requires R&D organizations to continuously update their knowledge and their tools and get better over time. And also integration. Integrating new technologies into our existing systems and processes can be complex and resource intensive and derail us, or let's just say distract us from the primary mission. Talent acquisition and retention, resources. Having a skilled workforce with the right skill sets at the right time is challenging due to high demand and competition these days. And the skill gaps, bridging this gap between skills available in the workforce and those required for our cutting edge research is an ongoing effort, so the resource management becomes paramount. Not only is it a trend, it's a challenge with regulatory and compliance. Regulatory changes and navigating those and adjusting to those midstream in our initiatives can be very derailing, as well as compliance costs. Ensuring compliance with regulations and the process and the paperwork and the submissions around that can be costly and time consuming. And obviously, as we're doing R&D, we want to protect our IP. So IP protection and patent disputes is all part of the mix there. Innovation management, achieving a balance between exploration and exploitation. R&D organizations must balance the exploration of new ideas to take us to the future with the exploitation and the full realization of our existing technologies and maximize the commercialization of all that. And risk management, we have to manage the risks associated with innovative projects, which often have uncertain outcomes and is a critical challenge because as we research, we don't know what we're going to find before we start. Collaboration and communication, as we talked about all these distributed teams and these partnerships and these external entities that we work with. We have internal collaboration needs, which ensure effective and collaboration and communication across our silos or cross-functional teams, because that can often be difficult. And then the external piece is definitely obvious, where managing partnerships with these external orgs, such as universities and other companies and governmental agencies, requires mechanisms and clear communication between. Market uncertainty. Part of being successful is really trying to predict the trends and accurately predicting those market trends so that we help us decide which are the right things to invest in on an R&D basis. And this can be challenging. And then how do we commercialize this? Translating research findings into marketable products or services requires a deep understanding of the market and effective marketing strategies in conjunction with the scientific or engineering aspects of this. The data management and analysis, big data, as we do this research, handling and making sense of vast amounts of data generated by these R&D activities can be challenging and requires advanced data analytics capabilities. And the data security, because we're actually looking at protecting the things that we're finding. We got to protect this sensitive data from data breaches. It's crucial. So overall, this is just some of the challenges R&D faces, but to address these challenges, it requires strategic planning, effective resource management, and a flexible approach to adapt to this ever-changing and quickly changing R&D landscape. So common components of our R&D projects, they're a bit different than your traditional projects in other realms that you might have, whether it be IT or services or whatever it might be. There's the idea of the objective and the scope, having clear definition of what you're trying to do and outline boundaries of what's in and what's out of scope. Literature review and background research to kind of set the stage for where we want to go, and doing the literature review and the background research to support where we want to go and to understand what's already been done and what's already known. Building a project plan, which has a timeline, a budget, and resources, the traditional things. What methodologies are we going to use for research design, data collection, and data analysis? The development process of concept development through prototype, through testing. Then the documentation and reports, ongoing documentation of our findings, progress reports along the way on how we're doing, and the final report of what we've actually found. Evaluation and feedback. Assess against the objectives. Are we meeting the objectives of the stakeholders that are out there? Gathering input from others. And are we succeeding in meeting the needs of who we're trying to address? Compliance and ethical considerations, like we talked about, has to be factored into our projects. Intellectual property management. That process is a process in and of itself. It has to be factored into our projects. And then the dissemination and commercialization. The publication of what we've done, the commercialization and productization of what we've done has to happen, and that has to be factored into the project of delivering. And then overall risk management across all of it, being able to assess the risks, and then when those risks actually occur, we need to have effective risk mitigation so that we can keep on moving forward. So just some ideas on the components of things that have to be factored in and when you're building R&D projects and the plans for those projects. Now, because we have internal and external partners, silos in different parts of cross-functional organizations that are involved in these things, these types of silos can breed increased costs and efficiencies and a lack of alignment. And poor alignment and collaboration between functional areas can lead to less than optimal results. Being able to grab data from a variety of different silos of information and manually mashing those up data from multiple tools and data sources and spreadsheets can be time consuming. And the manual report creation, after we've mashed that up, then becomes a process. And then as we do this in all these different siloed areas, we can have duplication of efforts. And the data entry is not only time consuming and wasteful, but it's also prone to errors as we transcribe the same pieces of data maybe into multiple tools. So disconnected information, it's difficult to remain accurate and current across the board and in sync, let alone chasing team members down for timely and complete status updates on how we're doing on things across all these different tools and spreadsheets, et cetera. And then the resource planning itself is hard to manage across all that unless you have something more comprehensive. Now, OnePlan provides a path to overall strategic portfolio management that can be used in R&D efforts. There is the element of the strategies, what we're trying to pursue, what is the organization's overall strategies, objectives, and key results, or maybe value streams that they've defined. Having the execution leaders who are actually leading these R&D efforts, execute these plans within a portfolio, regardless of what methodology might be being used, whether it's more adaptive, more agile, more product-oriented. And then there's the functional leaders who actually own the assets that we have to consider. They could be technological assets, things from our enterprise architecture, our business architecture, our applications, or the different products that we already manage. These elements have to be factored into our overall decision-making, and their success, or the initiatives that modernize and improve those, could impact our success of our overall execution of our R&D efforts as well. We have to be able to make sure that those things are upgraded as we have new breakthroughs in the R&D realm. Now, OnePlan can do these things and meet you where you are. We're going to talk about a lot of different things here today, and some of it you may say we're not ready to do that. Well, you don't have to be done before you start. We can take a crawl, walk, run approach to these things. The elements that we're going to talk about today in the OnePlan solution start from the kind of the intake and strategy area of things. So, for example, developing those strategies, those objectives and key results, or OKRs as they're commonly referred to, so that we align with what the organization wants to do overall is important. Being able to have that enterprise architecture that may define your business capabilities, your products, your applications, the value streams that you may have defined for your organization. And then ideation and request is important, as we talked about in the slides preceding this. Being able to have a place where people can submit ideas, where they can be prioritized, where they can be vetted, where they could possibly be voted on and crowdsourced for support for those ideas, and turn those into actual requests that may eventually become projects or efforts within your organization that we fund. And that goes into the planning, where we end up with a portfolio of these things that allow us to define what it is we want to pursue and build a portfolio with all the requisite data that we need to track, whether they be in traditional, more list views like you see here, more agile portfolio boards for people to take more agile approaches, or in the R&D realm, maybe even roadmaps on when we make in turn to deliver things, and when we want to define and graphically depict that, and how that aligns with certain key events within our organization. And obviously, resource capacity planning, we talked about skills and having the right resources is paramount. Do we have the capacity to deliver on the things that we're actually committing to? Financial planning, do these things fit within the budgets, and what are we going to have to require to spend on, and what are we actually spending, and what our burn rates are? And maybe even track potential forecasts and actualizations on revenue and or benefits we hope to achieve from these things. And then what of scenario modeling? In a fast-changing world, you get hit with changes, you get hit with curveballs, and we have to maybe assess alternatives to approaches and things that we might do, things we might substitute for other things we might have to delay, things we might have to interject we weren't planning on, and look at what the outcomes are and try to arrive at a more optimal solution that we can then pursue. Then the execution piece. Once we've decided on all that, we have to execute. And building our work plans, whether they be more waterfall plans like you see here, and more agile plans with boards, for backlogs and sprints, for example, and even the other elements that you might be working on. Now, OnePlan has its own planning tools built within it, but it also has built-in connectors for the more popular planning, work management, and scheduling tools that you see out there, like Microsoft's project tools, Smartsheet, right, Monday, the agile tools like Azure DevOps and Jira. So the thing is, if you're using some of those things today, we can extend the capabilities we're going to talk about today, leveraging the execution data that you have in those tools. And we even track things like issues, risks, changes, lessons learned, etc. The idea is it's all totally can be enveloped into one solution across the board, across your cross-functional organization with both internal and external participants. Now, resource managers, to have an overall capacity plan, definitely each effort has to be figured out what resources are going to be required and negotiate maybe what resources you can get from the organization or potentially contract. And those individual plans and resource plans will then roll up to that overall capacity plan we talked about in the planning stage. And team members, having seamless participation where participants and people who are executing on your projects, people that have been assigned things to do, can have one place to go to update their work and their schedules, or even charge time against the things if you have to do that for capitalization of labor or chargebacks or billing. Those things are all built right into the tool itself. And we also have to have analysis. So we have the individual project status reports and R&D efforts status reports. We have the dashboards, which can give us portfolio or program level data, resource level data, a variety of different slices, all through real-time analytics. And then we talk about all these elements like OKRs and enterprise architecture elements and ideas and portfolio items and projects. How do they all interrelate? What's related to one another? What depends on each other? Be able to visualize that so that we don't miss anything across the board and we can communicate those dependencies and those associations to others with something that OnePlan provides for us. And then ultimately, we want the outcomes, whether it's the products, the services, the other things, the drugs, the therapies, whatever it might be. We want the successful outcomes for these things. And we augment all this today with AI. Our built-in, purpose-built AI assistant, Sophia GPT, is part of the base OnePlan product and is available for you to use in your strategic portfolio management and R&D endeavors. The whole idea here is to select the right work to do that's aligned with the corporate objectives, and then to execute well and do the work right once we've decided to embark upon it. Now, OnePlan Sophia GPT, it's built into OnePlan. It's purpose-built for these strategic portfolio management capabilities. It leverages Microsoft's Azure OpenAI, which is built in the Microsoft cloud, as opposed to ChatGPT, for example, which is in the open internet. And because it's in the Microsoft cloud, it has its own compliance and security capabilities and additional protections that you get from that. And it also just helps us with all kinds of different tasks that we'll show you here today, like analysis, communication, estimation, detecting anomalies, etc. And it actually leverages not only the knowledge base it has is from the large language model in Azure OpenAI, but also will then read and interpret the data that's in OnePlan to help formulate its responses to your prompts. Now, Sophia GPT is always available in OnePlan. So at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a blue icon down there, a blue button, and that is Sophia, who's down there waiting for you to ask questions. And at any given point in time, you'll see some prompts of typical questions in that area of the tool, whether it be in the strategy, the portfolio, the work plans, whatever it might be. And you can add your own prompts or use ones that are suggested to you from right here at any given point in time. And if you go into the now area here, this is where we're at now. We've come a long way from scripts and predictive analytics and APIs to generate intelligence. But AI Assistant for SPM is built in. It responds to prompts, language-based prompts with language-based responses. We are already working on the next wave of AI-based autonomous for SPM, where it can anticipate what you need and maybe offer suggestions as we go along on that. And we're not that far away from getting to that mode. So just be aware that what we have today is going to evolve relatively quickly and enhance. Now, OnePlan is designed for departments and programs across the enterprise, whether they have their own individual needs they need to manage portfolio of plans and efforts for and initiatives, or organizations that have to look across the entire organization and manage portfolios that roll into an overall organizational portfolio. OnePlan is designed to support those needs, and R&D is no different. It's part of all that mix. It can have its own standalone portfolios of work, or in the cross-functional applications of things for people in other parts of the organization it needs, you can coordinate through a common tool set. That's what OnePlan is designed to do. Now, sample use cases for AI and strategic portfolio management. There's the strategic planning piece it can help you with, portfolio optimization on the selection and direction of that, work management and planning out tasks and elements in that regard, helping to identify and assess risks and risk mitigation, helping us with resource allocation issues, and even with financial or investment forecasting issues. These are just some of the areas that OnePlan can definitely help us with. So let me just, play this little recorded instance here of an R&D specific question. This is a picture of OnePlan in its strategic planning area, objectives and key results. And this case, we ask Sophia to provide a list of viable OKRs for an R&D department. And let's see what Sophia comes up with. All right, so it's coming up with some objectives and related key results for those things. The objectives being the overarching strategy, the key results being the tangible measures. Accelerate innovation in technology department. Objective, foster a culture of collaboration and knowledge sharing. Attract and retain top talent in the R&D department. Strengthen R&D partnerships and industry connections. Optimize R&D budget allocation and resource utilization. All of which have some tangible measures by which we can guide our progress. So the idea here is a lot of these actually align to the actual challenges and the trends that we saw in the slides earlier as we go forward. But once again, this can give you some great ideas on where to start with these types of elements rather than starting from a blank canvas. And you can modify these and add to them or remove from them as you see fit.